Indefinite leave to remain is like the holy grail of an international medical graduate or any immigrant, I think, in the UK or most other countries. So indefinite leave to remain is the same as permanent residency in the UK, which is similar to a green card in America. So it's such a big deal. Imagine applying too early. After waiting all this time, then I applied too early. That's exactly what happened to me. So indefinite leave to remain is supposed to be after 5 years. That's if you're on a 5-year route. That's if you have a skilled worker visa, or what they used to call, I think, it used to be called a tier 2 visa. You can apply after 5 years. Other people can apply after 3 years if they have some other visa routes, I think, like one called Global Talent Visa, and other people can do after 10 years. So for me, I came to the UK in September 2017, and I was on a tier 4 visa, that was a student visa, and I switched to a work visa in like 1 year later. So it was in 2019 of January 2019 is when I applied when I switched to a work visa. The website for gov.uk says that you can apply for ILR when you've made 5 years in the UK, but the earliest you can apply is 28 days before that time. So for instance, your 5 days end on the 28th of December, you can apply on the 1st of December. You can apply 28 days before. So the website states that you must calculate the relevant qualifying period by counting backward from whichever of the following is most beneficial to the applicant. 1, the date of application. 2, the date of decision. And 3, any date up to 28 days after the date of application. So the date of decision is easy in that if you got a decision on this day, maybe for your visa, then now count 5 years and then that date. So the date of application is something that can cause some confusion. So the date of application, for some people say that it's the date that you made your first tier 2 application. And then, so for instance, for me, I made my first tier 2 application in November of 2018. If you're liking this video up to this point, please give it a thumbs up. And I got my visa in January, so it took a long time. It took exactly 2 months, I remember. So in January is when I got the visa. So when do I make 5 years? So do I make 5 years in January, 5 years later, or do I make it in November, 5 years later? So some people say that you can use the date of application and apply, say, in November, the date that you applied the first time for the tier 2 visa. And that's what I did. So because I had been seeing there's a group called Indefinite Leave to Remain, which I highly recommend because people post all their stories, their experiences. And so for me, I saw, okay, I applied for a tier 2 visa in November, so the 30th of November is when I applied for a tier 2 visa. So now, 5 years later, I again counted 28 days before that and said on around, it was like the 4th of November, I applied for indefinite leave to remain, saying that my 5 years are going to reach in November. But then the people replied, the Home Office, because the good things I had applied for priority. So, because I didn't want to be there waiting for so long, so I applied for priority, and after about 2 days, they responded to me and they told me they need more information. So they were saying, well, you don't qualify because you were in the UK on a tier 4 visa first, and your tier 2 visa only started in January of 2019. Like, what do you mean? Can you give us more information, or are you trying to use a different route? So then I said, excuse me. In this group on Facebook, there are all kinds of, someone who's really helpful has made all kinds of templates for different potential responses to different potential problems and questions. And so I did use their template in which I was saying, excuse me, I've gone through a caseworker guidance, and you quote the guidance, is it from paragraph this to paragraph that? It says this and this and that. So I quoted all that and I responded to them and told them, excuse me, I have counted and you should use what is most beneficial to me. So the person or the caseworker was using what was not beneficial to me, which was the date of decision. So for them, they were saying that I should count from the date of my ILR decision being made. So I responded to them, and then like 2 days later, they responded and they said, no, that is not right. What they consider the date of application is actually the date that you make your ILR application. So the date of your ILR application 5 years back, you should have been on maybe a relevant visa for all that time. So in my case, a work visa for all that time, which I wasn't, if by the way the caseworker was counting. So anyway, they gave me 2 options. They said, what do I want? Do I want to, is it vary my application, which is I think transfer to a different type, or do I want it, or they can put my application on hold until the qualifying date, which they have calculated according to them. It was the 29th of December actually. For them, that's the date they've calculated. Do you want to put it on hold, or do you want to like maybe change or whatever? And then they also said they strongly recommend using an immigration lawyer. And it was all quite scary, by the way, because now I'm talking about it and it's quite easy, but it was scary because I was like, oh my gosh, all this money, because it was me and my husband who had applied. So that was like almost 7K. It was 7K actually, because the application fees for ILR had just been increased. So we were one of those people who just missed that, like we just missed out on the when they had just increased. So we had to pay the higher fee. It's £2,885 per person for ILR, and then for the biometrics you can't find a sooner appointment for free, so we had to pay around, I think, £134, I think, for each of us for our biometric appointment. But then when we went for the appointment, we made a mistake. Like, I don't know how it happened. Both of us didn't realize that the appointment was for a Monday and we went on a Tuesday. So frustrating. We went on a Tuesday and they told us, sorry, you missed your appointment. It was yesterday. We had to book again another appointment. So that's even more money. So that's how it adds up to 7K just for all this process. And then I'm like, I can't imagine, because on the website of the gov.uk in the guidance, they do say that make sure you apply at the right time, because if you apply too early, your ILR can be rejected and they will not refund you anything. And they say it clearly. So I was like, if they reject it, then we have lost all this money. I have to apply again. So we decided to just put it on hold. Initially, I went to the group again and people were saying, just complain, because when you look through the previous stories, other people have been through the same scenario. They do, some of them complain. And when they complain, then they got a response like immediately after they've complained. And some of them also did not. And one of the reasons why people say that there was this problem is that it depends on how soon that is the distance or the time between your date of application and your date of issue. So for me, it was 2 months, which is a long time. But some people, it's like 1 week's difference. So they're like, maybe it's not a big deal. They just give them. And also another thing is the fact that I was on another visa before. So other people have been through the same problem. It seems like it's mostly because we were on a tier 4 visa or a work visa before, and now we have switched. And so they don't choose that application date. But if you're applying for a tier 2 application, if you only were here on tier 2, you might risk it, although personally I'm not sure. Well, I risked it and now see what happened. So in the end it worked out for me, but if I was to go back in time, I honestly would have just waited and just applied at once, and I get my decision within a week and I know I'm done. In the end it took me 2 months as well, although I wasn't waiting actually for that time, because I knew that in the about 6 weeks period in between, it was just on hold, nothing was happening. So the best part is that the day on which my application was put on hold, I did get a decision that day. So the priority fee, it kind of worked out. So at least I didn't wait months and months and months. So that's it, guys. If this has happened to you, let us know below. And if it hasn't happened to you, try and make sure it doesn't happen to you and apply according to the right time. Like, I would rather just go for the application for use the date of decision or the date of entry or some other future date is much safer, unless of course you have some issues, like maybe you have to travel or you have something urgent. So for me personally, I didn't even have anything urgent. I was just feeling excited and I couldn't wait. So that's it, guys. I will make another video with more details of the actual application processing, that how much, what are the fees and what are the documents that I used. So do watch out for that. In the meantime, you can watch this video here in which I talk about the things that you can do that could affect your ILR.